Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Pattison Ave Phanatics Show. I'm your host, Tom Kelly. With me, as always, Joseph Mark.
Happy championship weekend, everybody.
James Scorza.
Yo, happy Saturday.
David Salim.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday, man.
Frank Finnegan's out and about on the road. Frank should be calling in. I just got to let you know right now, Frank, power went down and Skype doesn't look like it's Skyping, so good luck with that.
Skype's not Skyping.
Yeah, Skype's not Skyping with the Skype. I might have to sue Skype, and if I am, I'm going to call my man David Archeri Esquire. Workman's compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, and criminal law. Call him at 610-565-0300. And please tell Dave that the guys from Pattison Ave Phanatics and POP sent you. It is championship weekend, Saturday.
Yep.
1 day away. I mean, we're, 29 hours or so away, roughly, from football time, from Eagles, Niners, NFC Championship game, old school NFC Championship type football here. Smash mouth defenses, a scrambling quarterback, a relative unknown. It's going to be incredible. Listen, before we get into this Sixers talk, Mike Laro checks in. Good morning, Mike.
What's going on, Mike?
Before we do that, I would like to get into the 76ers. I hope that's okay with you guys.
Yep.
Because
the Eagles for last. It's all good.
Absolutely. You want to save the coup de grace, as they say, for last. Damon Salim, I'm coming right to you this morning. I need you.
You need me.
What's going on with this All-Star and snubbage? Damon Salim.
Yeah, first of all,
speak to it, my brother.
First of all, rest in peace, South Philly Jerry Pappard, man.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
The heater with the heater. Rest.
I was a little boy when Jerry was on his things. Yeah, rest in peace. Yeah, man. I called Cuz yesterday in Tunis, and the thing about that's really disturbing, a few things. I love Steph Curry. I'm a Steph guy. You guys know that. And the Splash Brothers. But ever since they came around, the NBA decided to call this positionless basketball. And it's an insult because a guy who led the league in scoring for so many years was a center. We needed a center to come help Dr. J get the Sixers over the hump. There's been many great centers that I've seen. Kareem, Moses, of course, Patrick Ewing, and now Hakeem, excuse me, thank you. Shaq, thank you. And now we have a guy who's not only a center, but he's a unique center in the way he plays the game, both sides of the court.
Unicorn.
And for this league to literally find a way to exclude him on the starting roster is insane. So as I'm sharing that, someone posted on Facebook, TK, where to make all NBA first team, there is a center position. You can only have one center, right? So this thing that the NBA has going, like I'm honestly, I'm out on the All-Star game. Like I fall asleep on it at this point when I'm watching.
Right.
I don't like this draft nonsense that they do. And when you eliminate a position because of what another team was doing, that makes no sense to me. But yet, on the other side, you still have that position listed on the best All-NBA first team.
Right.
The other thing Tunis pointed out, Joey, our guy is second quote unquote an MVP voting right now. He's like not the voting, but he's moving up, and it's just another thing, man. Where I'm just looking at it, going, you know what? Not a problem, because that guy's going to drop 50 today. He's upset, which is fine. I'll take it.
I like it.
And I'd rather see him hoist the MVP trophy in a championship game. That's what I want to see. And at some one point, they said, well, if I'm Joe, I wouldn't play in the All-Star game. He's going to make the reserve. It's already been announced. Both he and Hart, they're on the reserve team, right? So the thing is that will prevent him from not playing sneaker deals. And that's a big deal with these sneaker companies when it comes to All-Star.
Freddie Burns checks in. He says, so with you, Dame, there should be point guard, shooting guard, strong forward, power forward, and center. Goes back to the East versus West, too.
Yes.
Issue is the damn players aren't competitive enough to compete in the game like players of the past. And Fred, I'm with you.
Yeah.
There hasn't been an All-Star game worth watching since that 2001 All-Star game where AI went off, and Vince Carter, Marbury.
Been the best one.
Nothing's ever even come close. You would get a one-on-one matchup with Kobe and LeBron, but that was more playing around. Like Kobe and Jordan would go at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not even where, I mean, like these All-Star games in and of themselves,
right.
like football's going to flag football.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah. What's the point of that?
It's exactly.
Well, I'm cool with the All-Star game, the Pro, because it's for the fans. It's fun. I don't have a problem. The problem is that when you try to constantly reinvent the wheel, some things are just left alone. So next week they're going to change the red light to green light to yellow light. Like, leave it alone.
Yes.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. There was another All-Star game when Magic came back after he announced he was HIV positive. That game was so competitive. Again, I remember that. They were going back and forth. He and Isaiah and Jordan.
It was like 92.
Yeah. And it was so competitive. And it's like, for them to do that to him is a slap in the face, man. I'm like, leave the All-Star. I don't at this point, I don't even care anymore. Because they're deciding, they're not I don't want to jump around, but with these awards, right? It's like they're going, oh, Philadelphia? Nah.
Oh, we'll get into that.
You know.
That's how it feels. It feels like the town itself. And unfortunately, some of these amazing players, it's almost like you get slighted because you're here.
Because you're here. Like we did it, like we stole someone's lunch money. So nah. Listen, I'm going to catch up with a buddy of mine who actually works with Joe, friend of my brother-in-law. He works. I'm going to ask him how's he feeling. I'll find out. I'll share that with you guys. I know me. He's got a bad. Like he's probably pissed, but he's like, all right, I'm just gonna go do what I have to do. But no, it was a bad look, man.
Well, it's a terrible look for the NBA because in my mind, I agree with the idea of the East versus West. The only problem with that now is that the talent level is not balanced on the East versus West.
Well, hold up, because they do this draft.
Absolutely, Wayne.
Right.
So it's not even East West anymore. Like it may.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is the reason why they don't do East versus West is because the balance in both East and West, talent-wise, isn't there.
Yeah.
Can you fill a whole squad of like 20 odd play all-stars for the West? Probably not. Not ones that people want to see.
And it used to be the other way around.
Right.
It used to be the West.
The West
was
used to
strong,
be right.
And you had a handful of guys from the
East. I mean, we had Grant Hill in the East for years. And I'm like, Grant Hill's going up against somebody that is like 3 times better than he is. But that's who we had in the East versus West. And that's kind of the thing. For me, with regards to the Embiid thing, look, about a month or two ago, I laid into him. And
that backfired in your fucking face.
Yeah.
Here's my language. We're trying not to curse as much on the show, but that one just slipped out. I apologize.
That's all right.
Listen, I don't know if he listens to the show or has someone that he knows listens to the show.
Absolutely. He probably saw us on that big billboard on 95.
No. But I'm starting to think Dame's leaking what I'm saying to Joe because
He said
Dame says
Dame's got an inside track.
right. He's just not disclosing how much of an inside track.
That would be absolute. That would be a violation.
He's got
That
like
would be
a
a
text
violation, no.
message.
Yeah,
Yo,
that would
Joe, this guy's talking a lot of garbage on you.
Yo, Joe,
I'm
our
gonna show
Joe.
him the process.
Go for 50 today, and then he does, and then you're like, so I told you. Coincidence?
Maybe more
I
like
think not.
maybe more like 40, 45.
There's no such thing as coincidences in that regard. But ever since I'm like, all right, I get it. All right, I understand now.
Now keep poking the bear, Joe.
No, I
Keep poking the bear.
no, because he might show up on my doorstep.
No, honest to God, after I'm watching the game, after the game, I went, that friggin' Damon. I was like, man, oh man, oh man.
Yeah,
Like I'm waiting for a knock on the door and it to be him. Like, will you stop talking shit on me?
Yeah, like he just strolls down Broad Street. It would take him like 12 strides to get from the Wells Fargo to your house, and he just knocks on the door and goes, "Put that in your pipe and smoke."
Because I mean, literally, since I said something,
Like Clark said, I'm sure Joel is listening to the hammer. Heck yeah.
like, there's only one hammer in the morning that matters, and you're looking at it.
Uh-oh. I don't know. There might be another. There's going to be another one after the Eagles season's over.
Yeah, but this is the only one that matters. But
you're my hammer, Joe.
Yes. But Joel, like ever since I said this, he's been going, "Oh, you want me to be dominant? Okay, cool, all right," and he just turned it up like a notch and a half. Now we have this fraud coming in this afternoon in a 2-time most valuable participant award winner. Like,
and he's starting in the All-Star game, by the way.
Oh, he is.
Yeah,
oh, that's nice.
He's voted starter.
So another fraudulent. Look, he's a good center. I'm not taking anything away from him.
Absolutely.
But Joel Embiid is the best center.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Joel Embiid is probably one of the best players in the league.
Absolutely.
And, I'm going to sit here and say this. Joel Embiid is doing 30 and 10, 40 and 10, and he's going,
Yeah.
And James Harden's hitting double doubles and triple doubles, like, okay, whatever. And so the people, and I brought this up last week, Dame. I said the duo between James and Embiid, because the individual like step up that both of them have done as a duo, like it just terrifies me in a good way, like where that skill set can go. If they're doing like a whole home 30 and 10 or 40 and 10 or full home double double triple double,
right,
in a half,
right,
it's like, okay, this doesn't happen. Like all the talk about Jokic and all the talk about Doncic, and I get it, and it's well deserved in some regards. But when you have a person like Jokic that plays half the time, it doesn't make me feel like, okay, that's good enough reason for you to take away from Joel Embiid.
Right.
It's not a reason. It's the opposite of a reason.
Right.
And there lies our frustration.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where our frustration lies.
I think the one thing that Embiid needs to do is that he has to take this and take it personally, like what Michael Jordan would do. And that the one thing I could take out of it too is that, like the All-Star game, he says, "You know what? You don't want me to be an All-Star? That's what I think."
And just make everyone in his path pay nightly.
Yeah,
and
for these transgressions.
Someone made a point. They say they want to win an MVP in the All-Star game if it comes off the bench.
And the other thing too is that, like, usually when he lost the MVP, he kind of gets ahead of himself. I want him to be like a dominant player to say, "You know what? You don't want me to be the MVP? I'll show you. I'll see you on Broad Street."
Yeah, but here's my feeling. Do you notice that the NBA came out with that news about the All-Star?
And it's a popularity contest too.
After the game with the Nets, because you understand what would have happened to Ben Simmons if Joel would have got that news before
that was already scheduled because they did that thing with Thursday night on TNT anyway.
Right.
But to your point, I found it interesting that they immediately came out with the reserves. Like they immediately got that. Like they're like, "Oh, Harden," because Kenny Charles, Ernie wasn't there, the other guy that's thrown in. They said they had their list. They said these are the guys who we all agreed is going to be reserves. And B was one of them. And then all of them had Hard in their list except for Shaq. Shaq did not have Harden in his list.
Really?
No, he didn't. But and that's another thing. So
Shaq's eating too many Papa John's pizza.
and I'm a
Papa
Shaq fan, but he's decided that because he tells the kid from Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell, he's like, I'm on you guys, just like I was on Penny. And I'm saying to myself, Shaq, wait a second. Great player. I'm a fan. But dude, if you could hit free throws at the rate that Embiid does, I have no doubt he would have averaged 50 points.
Oh
a night.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
But because so I have an issue.
Hack-a-Shack,
Yeah.
really?
I have an issue with you always criticizing people. You were horrible. I mean, not bad, but horrible free throw. Atrocious.
I mean,
Great player.
let's
but
think
just
about
atrocious. So you don't have.
Let's think about
Not
this.
at all.
Shaq's free throw percentage was in the 30s.
Yeah, it was bad.
So you have Embiid, whose percentage is probably closer to the 80s.
87, 85.
Right. So you look at something like that, you don't even have to take it all the way up to Embiid status, but even halfway.
Yeah,
And this guy
right.
is.
Yeah.
He would have averaged 40 something for his career.
Easily.
For his career.
Because the way the game was played back then,
Yes.
and they were in the low post a lot. He's getting fouled. He's getting and ones. But I mean, again, you can when he takes this mantra like I'm the judge of you guys. Donovan, I need you to do this. Embiid, I need you to do this. I'm like, whoa, pause. And I like Embiid's take on things nowadays. Like he went back at Hakeem, rightfully so. Hakeem said he thinks he's lazy and slow. Doesn't understand why he shoots the threes. And I'm like, first of all, this is the other thing that ticks me off. Guys, watch the game. The guy takes maybe people 2 at the most 3 3-pointers a game. And usually it's because he's like, you know what? I'm about to be pulled out. Let me see if this flies.
Right.
It's not, okay, years ago he would take sometimes 6, 7. It's like, all right, Joe, pull back. He's pulled back tremendously. And people and for Hakeem to say what he said about him, I'm like, dude, you guys aren't watching. There's no way you're watching.
Joel's not wrong when he said they're out of touch.
Yeah, right.
It's not the same league. You
Games
have
play different.
you have to evolve.
You have to evolve. And I said that to my friend. I said,
Adapt or die.
People want him, and we've talked about this a dozen times. The reason why he couldn't be in the post early on is because 2-5 was in the post being let go, meaning no one was defending him. So during that time, Joe had to move around because there wasn't enough room. Moving forward. Now with Harden, he's in the post when he needs to be in the post. He's dominating. He's giving you everything, and people are still going, I need him in the post.
Exactly.
Dude, he cannot do that every possession.
All they got to do is wind him up with Embiid and let him go. So I did see, hold on, speaking of 2-5, I did see this funny thing. It was a picture of Tupac Shakur as an old man.
Oh, wow.
And it said what Tupac would look like if Ben Simmons was a shooter. Wow. And dude, I was dying.
Yeah.
I liked Allah's commentary when
I heard
during the game.
I don't miss it.
He went down and got a pass underneath the basket and passed it
Wide
off.
open.
He's like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Then he goes,
much of the same.
He's like, he said, man, I don't miss that.
Nope, not at all.
He said that. And you know what?
Ben Simmons wanted zero to do with Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I had tickets for that game. My brother-in-law calls me at 6:00, literally like, yo, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, I'm nothing. He's like, I got tickets for you. I'm going to email them to you. I was going to take my wife. We got a little argument. She didn't want to go. I called. No one wanted to go. So I wound up not going because I would have gotten there late. But watching that game, man, part of me, just a little bit, I feel sorry for him. But the other part of me, most of me, I don't feel sorry for Ben Simmons because he brought this on his own.
All on himself.
And it's sad. He scores 12 points against us in the second quarter. And the next night against Detroit, goes back to dunking. And I don't mean dunking the ball. I mean the donut. He had 0 points again.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, you're never going to get another big contract. This is it.
Oh, yeah.
You know how much he's making this year?
How much?
35 mil. Next year is 37 mil. and I want to say 39.
Talk about stealing money, Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't see that last year. She's going to get a buyout.
Oh my.
There's no way I can pay that kind of.
Listen, I'll take a 20th of that money, and you can put me on the court with a walking stick and my cane, and I'll make more shots than Ben. At least I want to play.
I had a conversation.
I think we all would.
With a coworker, and they tried to say, one guy was like, "Man, people were saying he could have been in the Hall of Fame." I said, no. It's there. Somebody said he's lazy. I said, I don't think he's lazy. I said, he just likes the lifestyle. The thing about him, I'll take this to my grave. He's talented. It's there.
You just don't want to show it.
Here's the thing. The Nets
just
said,
don't want to show it, James.
the Nets said when they got him, we could fix him. We're like, go ahead. That if you guys feel like you have Dr. Phil in the background that can fix this kid, go right ahead. Be our guest.
And
I think he needs Stephen Wilkos and
something, man.
Dame, you brought up tickets. Speaking of tickets, Sherry's Ticket Town has great prices and no hidden fees. Philly fans save big at Sherry's Tickets. If you use the promo code EOP10, you get 10% off your order. And let me remind you, the price you see is the price you get. So head on over to www.sherrystickets.com. It's been family owned and operated since 1946. Tell them that the crew of Pattison Ave and the boys over at Edge of Philly Sports sent you. So Maxey coming off the bench seems to be working.
Well, it definitely, man. I was opposed to it.
I know. I heard you talking to Cuz about this.
But when you look at it, I broke it down. You have 1, 2, 3 guys in the starting lineup that at one point or another, one is currently doing it, one used to do it, and one that did it before, who are leading scorers on their team, and B. Harden and Tobias. Right? You're talking about 3 guys who led their teams in scoring at one point or another. Like when Tobias was in Orlando, the Clippers, and also in Detroit, and people forget he played for Milwaukee briefly.
Right.
But he led his team in scoring. We know what Harden's done. So when it comes to Maxey, it's like, how do I fit in with the starting lineup, right? So now he goes, you know what? Let me come off the bench. And you can see it's elevated not only his game, Shake's game, Niang's game is elevated, Montrez's game is elevated, and Doc, to his credit, has found a way to use Thibault.
Montrez might be the best pickup of the offseason.
He's smart, savvy.
Yeah.
Melton's a close second.
Yeah.
Right. And so we'll bring him in there too, because now that unit can run. And Maxey's free as a bird to do what he wants to do.
Yes, he is.
And he's instant offense. So when you have Melton in the starting lineup now, because we know Maxey's not the best defender, he's willing.
Yeah.
But he's going to grow into it. It's going to get a little bit better. Harden's a much better defender than what I thought. Still not the best. But with Melton there, he can offset that. And now you have more of a balanced team. Nah, dude, I'm listening to Daryl yesterday with the Cuz. Like, who do they get? What do they get to add on the trade deadline? That's next week, Joe.
I mean, there's not a lot you need to unpack about the trade deadline. I think they got a lot of players as it already is.
I agree.
I think they're really deep,
Yeah.
and especially in the right places.
I agree.
I honestly
And because of him coming off the bench, that really, helped. I'm sorry.
I honestly think that they're going to be less engaged with the trade deadline and more engaged with the buyout.
You think they're going to do a buyout?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about that one.
Let me ask you, Joe, who you think will be the guy that you buy out hypothetically?
I honestly think that there's a chance that someone like Forcon
that's what I was thinking.
could be bought out.
Yeah.
Quickmile's going to.
Yeah.
Cork Mizzle, that's my guy, man. Cork Mizzle.
Right, but he's gotten he's averaged 3 minutes in the last 10 games.
No, you know what's funny?
Wayne Miller checks in, says Thibault keeps dropping threes, and I think we should keep question mark.
Well, I'm going to keep Thibault.
Right?
You know why?
Defense.
I need him for the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah.
I need that. I need him for the playoffs. And the other thing is, Shake Milton said, "I'm not going back to that bench. I'm not.
You know what?
I'm not sitting down.
You've been as consistent as you've been in your entire
Yes,
NBA
he
career.
has.
Keep it up, young man.
Yes,
Keep
he
it up.
has. He's
Absolutely.
aggressive. And so no, they're balanced. They're fun to watch, man.
Yeah, man.
I'll tell you this. You said something last week that got me really looking at this player differently, especially in the Brooklyn game. Shake Milton.
Yeah.
That's a guy's like, you ain't taking food off my plate.
No.
You ain't taking food away from my
man.
family.
No.
Like, you're not putting me back on the bench and taking money and food off my family's table. No. And like, that is the complete opposite of a 2-5. You know, like, that is the complete opposite of a guy who wants to stay relevant.
Yeah.
Not just for this team. I mean, I go back to like a TJ McConnell.
Excellent. Yeah.
When TJ was here, he was never going to be the starter. He was never going to be a star. But he was so hungry just for playing time that when he came off that bench, dude, it was like, swing.
Yeah.
It was like a shot out of a cannon.
Yeah.
And now, like, Shake Milton seems to be that spark plug that TJ was a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, he is, man. And he's understanding his role. He's accepted his role. He and Maxey are building a nice backcourt together, which is nice to see. And the sky's the limit for these guys, man. I think going back when you were talking about Joe, I'm coming to realize Joe's one of those guys who starts the season off slow.
Yeah.
I didn't want to believe that.
He's the Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, it just takes him a while to get revved up.
I get that.
Takes him a while to get revved up, and then man, once you crank him up,
once you turn on that switch, forget
about it. He's not now, but now I think Joe, James, they've actually poked him. I think right now you're going to see this focus. Like, okay, I know what I have to do now.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, I think they it's on the quiet. I think they really okay.
Yeah, right.
Because by the way, fellas, they're second in the East.
I know.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Huh? 2.5 games
they
out.
steamrolled their way back up the the East
and they won 7 straight too.
The words out my mouth.
Like Fooge.
They have the hottest streak.
Hey Fooge, what's up, buddy?
What's up, Fooge?
In the NBA, but that home game, that home stand when they went 7-0, they lost a couple, and then they came on the road and won 5 in a row on the road. That really propelled some things, and it's got to stay. If they stay healthy,
sky's the limit.
We had the Phillies. What's up, Dave? In the East.
In the World Series.
In the World Series, but I'm just talking about the conference championship, right? Our beloved Eagles will play tomorrow, and I see the Sixers. I see the trend happening, man. And shout out to Doc Rivers, man. He had it's a Philly thing shirt on. I love when the coaches.
See that.
Yeah, at the it was last week at the this is before the Giants game. He's like, they're going to win. So the Eagles are going to win. He had a Philly. And I love it when the coaches and players. You know, Daryl Morey talked about how Howie Roseman invited him to the Eagles train. I love that, man. The other organizations, teams, they get together and they feed off of each other and they sort of support each other, man. I love it, man.
Speaking of the our football team in this town, if you don't have a place to go watch said football team, head on over to Dolan's at 24 East Sellers Ave, Ridley Park, PA. Delco's Birds fans flock to the Big D. Every Eagles game, memorabilia giveaways, great drink specials, free buffet, and you never know who might stop by. You never know who might stop by Dolan's. So head on over to dolansbar.com, check out all their specials and everything like that. Tell them the boys at Pattison Ave Phanatics and Edge of Philly Sports sent you. And gentlemen, there is a football team in this town.
Real quick, before we switch,
go ahead.
I wouldn't mind. I'm just going to stick with this if we somehow get Carmelo and
I know you're on that Carmelo thing. Every time you bring it up to the cuz, he poo-poos you. Every single time. And with that, let's get back to the Birds.
And with that, back to the Birds.
You can have your Embiid. You're correct about Embiid and everything you say. Let's get to the Eagles here.
Listen, if you're getting a proceed of whatever Carmelo makes on the contract, I don't know how much of an inside track. You could be our Ahmad Rashad. You could be like that guy that
not if you could be Ahmad. I met Ahmad Rashad at Bettino's shoe store in town 25 years ago when I worked at UPS.
Wow.
Yes.
Cool?
I actually picked up a package that was going to one Air Jordan himself.
Wow.
From there when I worked at UPS many moons ago. Ahmad Rashad was really cool. Yeah, he was a good
Jordan's
dude.
sister used to live in Philly.
Really?
Didn't know that time, yeah. And West Philly is
listen, all the connections that you mentioned on this show, Dame, I'm starting to look differently that you are.
I don't know nothing.
That you have a secondary life that we're not complete. Like you're that Wojnarowski. You're that
Damonowski. All right, so did anybody sitting here? Now I know everybody was very confident that the Eagles were going to take care of business against the Giants. Pretty much across the board. I think everybody felt confident. But did you see that game happening? Did you see them just on in every area of the game? James scores. Did you, every facet of the game? The Eagles just cruised and rolled over them.
I got to give a shout out to my dad. Early in the week, he said that the Eagles are going to put a Minnesota Vikings on the Giants.
And damned if they didn't.
God damn, they did.
Damned if they didn't. It was a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing if you blow a team out. I love it.
Look, when at halftime, I'm laughing as I'm cooking wings in the oven at halftime. I'm literally, I'm shaking my head and laughing. Now, my wonderful wife, right?
Yeah.
My wonderful wife, who I love dearly and who loves me, has a hard time watching important Eagles games with me because I'm so up and so down, and I'm dying on every play, no matter what. So she goes in her own little area of the house and listens to music and does her thing, and she'll pop back in and check on me to make sure I haven't had a heart attack and died. But if she comes out, she's like, "Oh, okay." It was like, yeah. Oh, they didn't make that third down conversion. She leaves again. So, and my mother used to do the same thing with my dad. My mom would go in the basement and play Nintendo. Swear to God. Legend of Zelda. My mom loved it.
No, dude, you're kind of like me. Like I get invited to people's homes.
Yes, sir.
And I share with them. I'm not the guy you want to watch the game.
I am not, and Gargano says that a lot too. I'm not the guy either that you want to watch the game with
because people want to talk and laugh. In my mind, I'm a coach.
I am locked in.
Yeah, I'm a coach. I have a texting thread with my brother and a couple of friends, and we have our family group app. And my niece, shout out to my niece Taisha. My brother converted her correctly. She's in Virginia. She's a diehard Eagles
Beautiful.
fan. And raised her. She's not
good parenting.
She was raised. Yeah, she was raised. And so it's like that's it. Like I'm not trying to be on the phone talking to you. Somebody called me. I'm like, dude, like I'm not. No, Eagles are on.
And Joey can attest to this. I'm hyper focused. I'm extremely loud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vulgar.
Sure.
And my son laughed at me against the Giants. We watched the whole game together. Shook his head at me, and I'm just punch him in the mouth. And Joey knows exactly how I am with every single snap of the football. Absolutely. And I lock in. I can't. Sure, halftime you want to talk to me? That's fine.
Yeah.
Commercial break. All right. I come back to that person. How Beyonce turns into Sasha Fierce when she goes on stage. Yeah. I turn into a raving lunatic, like most of us are.
Doc turns into
it's probably a great
Weapon X.
Weapon X.
Exactly.
It's probably a great fairy thing because I do the same thing in my house.
The Thomas dude, I love that video with Dog.
Oh man, it's amazing.
So,
by the way, and before I go any further, speaking of B-Dog, he made the hype video.
I saw that.
It was phenomenal.
I saw that.
Phenomenal.
We don't need a rah-rah speech.
Yeah, we don't.
Love it.
Go ahead, Dane. Were you about to?
No.
Oh, okay.
So I will say this.
Fire away.
Last weekend, I said that the only thing the Giants were going to do is take their luggage and go back home.
Yep.
Yeah.
I said by the end of that game, I did the whole Roman Reigns, you will fall and acknowledge us. And listen, that's exactly what happened.
A Giants fan, a Commanders fan, and a Cowboys fan walk into a bar to watch the Eagles play football on Sunday.
Nice.
Love that.
Not a joke.
There's your punchline, people.
Not a joke, just a reality this Sunday.
What stood out to you in Sunday's game that kind of jumped off the screen at you, jumped off the TV at you? Joe, I'll start with you. What about that game said, wow, made you say, wow?
I'll be honest. It was the stifling secondary and the defense on the secondary because it felt like they weren't going to give them much of anything. And once they did, they just stifled them.
Yes.
Like once they gave them a little bit of an inch to breathe, smack, and it just like went back to suffocation mode.
I'll give you my wow moment on offense and on defense. Gainwell, the way he's been running the ball, to me is almost Jay Ajayi-esque. Not speed necessarily, but how he hits the holes. I look to him to get more carries this week and to do that. And then on the defensive side of the ball, if Temple's own Hassan Reddick has not impressed you this year, you don't have eyeballs.
See you.
Incredible. Dame, how about you? What jumped out in last week's game against the Giants?
I'm gonna piggyback off of Joey. One of the things I mentioned just because is that Gannon did what I've been wanting him to do. They attacked, and they attacked consistently throughout the game. And what it did was
Norm.
What's up,
Norm?
If you look at this defense when it attacks, this kind of sound weird. They play more freely. They're like you guys remember because we're all Philly. So you remember those days when there was real snow days, right? We got real snow, and
that doesn't exist anymore,
right? And so my buddies and I, this is before summer. We would call each other. We're going to go out. We're going to go make some money, right? We go shovel snow, right? We did that.
Yep.
For the first 2 hours of the morning.
Norm just did an Eagles chant, by the way.
Nice, Norm.
Thank you.
And then we would go out and play tackle football.
Remember, he's a Commanders fan, by the way.
Yeah. And then,
sorry, Dame. Sorry.
No, you're good. And then we would go out and play tackle football.
Oh yeah.
And that was so freeing because it's like, we finally get the hit as opposed to playing tackle. Now we would go to the park and play tackle sometimes.
Yeah.
But in that snow, it was a different vibe. So my point is that they were free on defense to let go, right? And then you mentioned Gainwell.
Fifth Amendment.
You mentioned Gainwell. Gainwell quietly, I know people aren't big on him, but I've actually liked him from afar. I'm gonna tell you why. He can catch the ball out the backfield. He's more of a high step runner, meaning like he's whereas though Sanders is a low runner, right? This guy can get in there, get between the tackles, and do his thing. I expect more out of him this week. So those two things stood out. And of course, number one was just like, I'm back. He was on. And Big Joe and James was there. You could see where he's like, and then, something happened last week. If you notice when AJ Brown was upset, he didn't even go say anything to him. And in his mind, in his mind, he's like, don't worry about that. I got you next week. Because AJ's numbers when he was with Tennessee, he dropped 111 and two touchdowns against the 49ers last year. I know for a fact, thinking the way Sirianni them does, they're like, we're going to save that for next week.
I've compared Jalen and AJ's relationship to me and Tom when we played because we're both passionate, very competitive people on the field. So when tempers run high, they run high because of what's going on in the game.
It's nothing personal, right?
No.
It's just the game.
When I know he goes off, I know what to do. I know how to step back, but I know how that we can still be, close friends and whatnot, despite that blow up. Right. The same goes for me. Like with AJ and Jalen, I think Jalen's like,
yeah, and for the people that may have taken issue with AJ Brown being upset, if my receivers don't act like that, I don't
want them.
If you don't want the football,
right,
and it doesn't piss you off,
right,
then you don't need to be here, and you don't need to be here.
Todd
now
Princeton,
he wasn't throwing a fit. He just had, as my mom would say, a puss on his face.
Right.
I think he was more upset with himself. That's the vibe I got. He was hobbled. He acknowledged it.
Well,
and then if you remember, Hurts overthrew him. Like if he just gets that.
Yeah.
But that happens, right?
Right.
And it's like, dude. Matter of fact, I'm willing to bet
they're going to
first plays tomorrow.
They're going to torch these corners on the Niners.
Here's my feeling: is that with AJ and Sirianni with that blow up, I think Sirianni was like, "Get it off your chest.
Yep.
That's fine."
Yep.
But here's the thing: what AJ said at the press conference in the interview, he's like, "If they throw 100
I want
throws at me,
101.
I want 101. If that's not a mentality of I just want to put my team in the best position to win. If I'm not a contributor, I don't feel like I did my job. How is that something you should rip a player
He's not
about?
selfish with it.
No,
difference.
he's just saying, I know that I can help this team win. Allow me to do it.
It's not a Chad Ochocinco or Terrell Owens.
No,
blow up.
it's not.
And I respect.
It
the heck
wasn't
out
a
of those
blow
guys.
up at all.
It wasn't. Matter of fact, right? I mean, I stand corrected. It was not a blow up at all. As a matter of fact, I didn't even know he was upset until my buddy put it in the text.
Yeah.
And then I saw it later. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But you think Nick Sirianni was like, oh, okay, and like he got it in his face and it was a whole big thing? No, he's like, okay. Like, you have to understand, to have a guy on your team that wants to be competitive, that wants to compete, that wants to win. We had a lot of those guys back in the day. One of the guys that was like that was Brian Dawkins, who just did the hype video.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna make a statement. Awesome. Lane Johnson is the best Eagles offensive line in the history of this team.
Okay.
Offensive lineman in the history of this team. It's been what, almost 3 years since he's allowed a sack.
Right.
He went through the PED stuff, and now he's on the other side of that.
Now,
has anybody here had a groin injury?
I have.
Yeah, me too.
I had surgery.
Right.
Plenty of surgery.
Imagine, doing daily mundane tasks were extremely difficult. This guy is blocking world-class athletes and not giving up an inch.
When I had my groin injury, I could barely walk.
Right.
And this guy's got it blocked.
He's like adjusting, moving his leg around, adjusting
to
it.
TK's point, it's already a given he has to have surgery. This is not no
No, he's not going to hurt. He's not going to injure it any worse. It's your pain tolerance.
It's not
That's
like Embiid was able to, instead of having surgery on something, he just had to rehab it. You know what I mean? Like, this is not one of those.
No,
deals.
he's just a freak. Lane Johnson's a freak in nature.
He's getting surgery. Well, I'll add to this. JK, man, he took, you guys were there.
Yep.
One arm and mauled the guy.
Like,
Joey
launched him. That was Reggie White-esque.
Now I want
you
to
get the bleep off of
I
him.
want you to understand something.
Never seen that like it.
JK is the smallest.
Not JK Rollins, ladies and gentlemen.
No, Jason Kelsey. Kelsey is the smallest and the lightest out of everybody on that offensive line.
By a lot.
Yeah.
And this guy, he's like a bear.
Yeah.
He's like a small little grizzly bear.
Yeah.
And he'll maul you when
Small
it's
little
time.
grizzly bear.
Dude, Joe, let me just add. Then the next play or two, they show a clip where he's running to the right side, blocking for Sanders. Like out there in the. I'm like
out in space.
Listen,
I'm sorry, dude. I think he's got another 5 years.
Listen, I've heard this all week.
If that man wants to play 5 years, he can play 5 years.
He's got an open ticket. Yep. That's the thing. Is like with Howie Roseman, it's not about the money. It's about, do you want to play? Because I'll cut you a check.
Stand up in front of 3 million people and tell them exactly how this city feels. You put out a Christmas album. Like, what does this guy not do?
So, and the fact that he's got like an on-air personality, that he'll have that once his career is done. But
he has that podcast with him and his brother is gold. It's gold.
The thing that I've been hearing all week is about Fred Warner, linebacker for the 49ers, and how he's going to play as kind of like a quarterback spy, and how we're going to respond to that. Here's how we're going to respond to that. Jason Kelsey's going to put him out of his ass.
Listen, you can spy Jalen Hurts. The thing with the spy is, the thing about having a spy is that spy doesn't have to think, they just react. Unfortunately for the 49ers, Jalen Hurts, after snap, has 3 initial options that will freeze his ass. That will freeze him. And if he bites on any one of them, Jalen pulls the ball back and drops it to Goddard. Or he hands it to Miles. Or if he starts going Miles' way, he pulls it and runs it himself. Oh, and by the way, you have your 1 and 1A wide receivers going downfield, torching the 49ers corners. Look for a big game from both your receivers tomorrow.
Let me go on a limb and say this. The last handful of weeks that the Eagles have gotten disrespectful, I used to be fazed by it. Doesn't faze me anymore.
Nah, I'm with James.
It never does faze me anymore. And I have to come on a limb and say I was completely wrong about Jalen Hurts. And I was not one guy that was a full Jalen Hurts fan. I was one guy that was saying,
You and thousands of other people, James.
and I got to be honest with you. I'm glad that I was really wrong about this kid.
There are times when you could be glad to be wrong, man. This is one of them.
And that's the thing, too. And the one thing I can say about that, in the words of Anthony Gargano, play the song.
Oh, I love it.
That's right.
I mean, listen, this is how I feel. Now, I got to approach our showmate, Frank. He did the post game and the pregame from Aaron's. By the way, I didn't know your wife owned the
It
bar.
was Kelly's Corner.
Yeah, Kelly's Corner. I didn't know.
People's on the bar? You didn't tell me that.
No,
didn't know that.
a woman by the name of Aaron Kelly owned the bar.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I'm like,
Dude,
when did Aaron get a bar?
Why?
Did I not?
how do you not know your wife owns a bar?
Kidding me? I'm a huge drunk. I don't know why.
That's how I'm drunk. You don't know.
That's how drunk I am, apparently.
So, he was there, and they had said something about how no one saw Jalen Hurts kind of becoming this kind of quarterback. I said in the beginning of the season he was a top 5 quarterback in the league by the end of the year. And I'll tell you this.
You called it, Joe.
And I'll tell you this. One of the things that astounds me isn't just the skill set that he brings to the field. It's the mentality.
Yes.
It's what I said to Cuz when he was on our 5th anniversary show. I said, sometimes it's not just about can you beat the team on the field with your arm and your legs. Can you beat the team with your team as a mental
Same
leader?
here, Steve.
He on the mental side of things, he is the quarterback we thought Carson Wentz was going to be.
Yep.
He is the most composed, locked in quarterback we may have ever had in this city.
It's funny. I mean, I wasn't born at the time. I guess you guys can relate, but maybe like Randall was probably the closest thing.
Well, I called him
seeing his
ultimate
highlights.
weapon.
See, but
I called him
Randall didn't.
ultimate
If
weapon.
Randall had studied,
Yeah.
Randall would have been all world.
See, Randall
That's the thing that-
Randall didn't come into his own actually till he went to
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Right.
And he at that point he matured as a man.
Yeah.
Okay. He stepped back for a year. And you're talking about a guy, James, like Randall Cunningham was dating Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Like this is how popular he was. I mean,
Oh,
so it's like
yeah.
a different world. Like Kadeem Hardison's character wore his jersey.
Yep.
Like he was on like Randall was that guy, right?
Yeah, he was.
Well, you had Will Smith wearing his jersey.
Will
on the
Smith
Fresh-
wearing his so he
Fresh
was
Prince of
like
Bel-Air.
yeah, and people knew him, right? And he was that great of a player. But the sad part, they didn't give him an O-line. And Andy Reid
And
taught,
he didn't have a lot of receivers either.
he didn't have receivers, but more importantly, he had the defense, always the defense, but they didn't have give him an O-line. Had they give him an O-line and given him some structure, because see, when I'm gonna say something about Andy. Andy taught me a lot about football. He comes in, first thing he does is he gets the O-line. They signed from Tennessee,
Runyon,
thank you. Right? He wanted McNabb protected. And then McNabb, as great as he was, he had structure, but they didn't give him the receivers he needed at the time early on. They gave it to him later. Moving forward with Jalen, what I'm realizing, I just want to touch upon something you guys said. I said this to Cuz. When you listen to Jalen's interviews, right? Sometimes it could be like monotone. But what I got from him, one, people forget he grew up in the game. His father's a coach.
Yep.
So he's had a football in his hand probably when he was 2 weeks old, or a week or a day old, right? So imagine a young man sitting on the sidelines while your father's coaching. You're soaking up all this information, like Kobe Bryant did, right? His father, played ball.
Yeah.
So moving forward, he's playing the game, learning the game. When I listen to his interviews, this is what I get. He's in the moment answering the questions, but he's saying to himself, I can't wait to take the shower and go watch tape.
Yeah.
I swear I get that from this guy. And that goes into the part about laser focus.
Yes.
It's funny you mentioned that. when he first was like getting interviewed by the team and all that, I was gonna say this guy kind of sounds like a boring guy, but
sure.
But the other thing,
But why do you need to have that energetic guy
but when he
if he's
shows
doing
on the
that?
field, like
That's what your head coach is for.
No,
Right.
James is that's I'm like, dude, like Carson Wentz was boring. But this guy was like boring but kind of interesting at the time. But now that I
Carson Wentz just like talk and no action.
Yeah. And so now you go, oh, Jalen, I get it.
Yep.
You're answering the question, but it's kind of like, and I alluded to like, so Muhammad Ali had this thing about, I said this on last week's show, when he would go off on you because he said, I had to do that to prepare for the fight.
Right.
To get into my opponent's head. That's
Right.
what Ali
Yep.
said.
Right.
Yep. All that bravado, that was to outsack his opponent, right? Jalen to me is like, yup, say this about me. Yeah, I know I need to get the ball. And he's thinking, I'm going to get there. And man, dude, to see that growth, that's why we love him the way we do.
It's not just Jalen. This whole team works on any deficiencies that they had throughout the season. The next week, they weren't there.
I want to throw this stat. I looked it up prior to the show, and when you hear this, then you think, okay, knowing that and knowing what we know about Jalen, it just sells you even more.
Right.
77. His record as a starter, including college, 77, 23, and 1.
What?
That's incredible, man.
I'm a math guy, but that's like
that's like a 650%.
You took the words out. I was about to go, because I'm doing what?
Yeah.
He did what?
Damn near 700% winning percent.
Wow.
Hey, real quick, prior to us moving forward here, if you want to check out Jalen and the Eagles over at Live Casino, the Birds Ultimate Tailgate NFC Championship Edition through Philly Sports Trip Sunday, January 29th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Head on over to phillysportstrips.com to get all the details. Tell them that the boys from Pattison Ave and Edge of Philly Sports sent you.
It's going to be lit.
Let me piggyback off something. So, Joey, last year, I shared this with you guys. I'm at the Saints game. I get to see it. I'm like, okay, I see what his flaws are. And who me? I never coached. I didn't even coach street football. So if I can see he needs to get the ball out, obviously the coaches could, right? And that was the biggest thing for me, getting the ball out, not locking it on one receiver. Well, check that out. The guy you were mentioning, 49ers, the linebacker,
Fred Warner.
This guy's intelligent enough. If you guys notice, he's reading the defenses. Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles wasn't fired. It was Byron Leftwich.
That's what.
But when Todd Bowles said he couldn't read the defense, he took that personal. Like he was like, okay, I can't read the defense. Now he's up there, not only reading defenses, he's dissecting them.
Oh,
like,
but in the league, I mean, the league so far. So Dallas let go 5 assistant coaches. Tampa Bay let.
You're not getting any of ours, Cowboys.
No, and then Tampa Bay let go of 9 of theirs. So the Bucks, I mean, let go of 9 of theirs.
Right.
So you have to understand, like, there's franchises out there that are a lot worse off than where we are now. And think about this. I've ripped Gannon.
That's a drastic understatement.
Right. But I've ripped Gannon all year.
One of his best coaching games the last week.
He did a fantastic job.
And I have to say, I'm not going to sit here and say I love Gannon like I like Jim Johnson.
No.
I'm not going to say that.
Look at TK looking at him.
But I'm not going to say that I love Jonathan Gannon like I like Jim Johnson, but he's growing on me. Like a fungus, but he's growing on me.
Listen, you know what it is? Okay, so let's a couple things. I want to actually, TK. I want to break down Frisco if we can, but I want to get
absolutely. We start with the Giants and transition into breaking down the Niners.
So Joey makes. I believe that because we grew up on the defensive coordinators that we've grown up on, right? The aggressive, and I still love that. I'm not going to ever not want to see that type of defense. I think that we've become so accustomed to seeing that when they play sticks defense, it frustrates us, right? The crazy part about it, though, Joe, it's effective, right? But last week, you saw when he let the dogs loose. Like, boom, go ahead, have at it. I'm going to bring the pressure because he sensed CJ up the middle. That's how Bradbury was able to get the pick.
Once again, that's the reason why I think people are listening to our show, because I said that exact thing. I said,
Yes, you did.
all I want to do is let the dogs loose.
Yes, you did.
And they did.
Yes, you did. And I expect the same thing this week. So a couple of things. People talk about this 49ers offense. After watching the 49ers play, it was great to see we had already won. The next day we get to sit back and pin our ears back, if you will, and watch the 49ers play the Cowboys. And I'm watching the game back. I said, okay, it's going to be a defensive game. Okay, boom. If the great Dak Prescott, which Joe James and I did the show, and I said if he does his 2 picks,
I told you he has never won when he's thrown 2 or more picks in a game.
And the thing about it is, if he doesn't throw the first one, okay, fine, but that second one, when they're heading towards the red zone, right before that was the game.
Yeah,
that was the game right there. The momentum swung.
And that was only at halftime. That was the
And that was only at halftime.
So speaking of the Niners and things you worry about, obviously Christian McCaffrey
Watch that calf.
presents a problem. You know what I would like to see, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm really interested to see, is if they were able to put Nakobe Dean in there and spy McCaffrey the rest of the game.
James is going to leave.
Let's stop.
James is walking out.
Let's
Nakobe
stop.
Dean was on the radio this week too.
If they were,
let's stop.
What do you got there, James? A little Nakobe Dean T-shirt. Nakobe Dean. Out of our linebackers, he's probably the fastest, and he's great. He's great in pursuit, and he's a great pursuit linebacker.
Listen, for those who are listening that don't know, James is a big Georgia
Bulldogs fan. So when we got Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean, James
all,
lost his mind.
Yes, he lost his gourd, especially when we still got Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round.
I see James is on board with my little theory that I have here.
So
now I don't know if you make adjustments like that the game before you would possibly go to the Super Bowl, but if let's say by halftime he's presenting you some issues, I wouldn't mind seeing that wrinkle thrown into the defense.
I will say one thing. The one guy that you had said in the beginning of the year, Isaiah White, he's really fallen off.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and so I wouldn't hate the Nakobe Dean. It's once again back to what I had said last week of let the dogs loose.
If you
let them off the chain.
If you break it down position by position, there's no doubt that the Niners have the better linebacking. No doubt.
Well, but I think we have the better defensive line. I really do. I mean, I'm not, other than Joey Bosa, who am I supposed to be afraid of?
Wayne Miller says, pull the Dean ace card out, and I'll think about blowing Gannon. Just the thought.
Whoa, that's a lot of information.
Are you sure that's not Pat Bernard?
That's Pat Bernard.
Oh, my God.
That's
good stuff, Wayne.
That's Pat Bernard.
That's good shit, Wayne.
But if you, just think about that as a wrinkle, man, because.
But let's slow our roll. I'm not even going to start to fret about Mr. McCaffrey, because let me ask you a question. 3 running backs that I'm going to name. You tell me who you're more scared of. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Christian McCaffrey. Who are you more scared of?
I don't know, man. Derrick Henry would probably be number 1.
Oh, but guess what? We shut him down.
And then Saquon would probably be number 2.
We shut him down
61 yards, Saquon.
And then I guess McCaffrey would round out the top.
See,
so why am I scared?
Listen, McCaffrey. One thing about him, I was thinking about him yesterday.
Nobody's scared.
He has a calf injury. Okay, and I'm a sportsman. I hate to say that he's injury prone, unfortunately.
Right.
Throughout his career, I mean, he's a great player, can do everything. And now this calf injury, that's some serious business. And he didn't participate in practice on Wednesday. And by the way, TK Mitchell's hurt too.
Debo's hurt too.
Debo.
Yeah, but they're going to play, right? They're going to play, and what I'm expecting the Eagles to do. See, the Eagles have this formula that I'm digging. Let me go back. I mean, I don't want to jump around. So Joe makes a good point. Okay, let's go. Let's just top positions. Quarterback, check, Eagles. Offensive line, defensive line, Eagles. Wide receivers. Am I going to put Debo Samuel over AJ or Devontae.
Are you going to
No.
put
And Ayuk and Samuels?
Are you going to put Are you going to put Ayuk on in any of?
Yeah, I might give him a slight tie with Devontae. I might, but
George Kittle over Goddard.
No.
I'll give him that. George Kittle over Goddard.
Okay,
Not necessarily.
It's hold on. I put Kittle over Goddard like I'd put our receivers over theirs. It's close, but I
Okay,
think they edge them out.
I mean, it's close by
all right.
probably a second or two.
But the other thing is, when you break it down, I believe our defense can match up with their offense, which Joey was alluding to more so than their defense can match up with our offense. Because here's the other thing. That quarterback that we have, who reads the defense, by the way, I'm going to take this lane. And I'm going to get out of bounds. That's 5 yards. That's a first down.
There's a reason
now
why.
What do you do with that?
There's a reason why I say that I'm not afraid of Christian McCaffrey, and there's another reason why I'm glad that we're not. Because Brock Purdy hasn't thrown over 30 attempts in one game. He hasn't thrown over 30 times in one game. So for me, that means that Kyle Shanahan is trying to protect his quarterback from overthrowing or being overused because he's afraid of costing his team the game.
Joey, real quick. So do you also, what's the number? Because you're a numbers guy. He hasn't even thrown over 50 yards downfield.
No,
I think it's 40.
He hasn't thrown over 15.
Okay.
Ain't gonna be this game either. I'll tell you that.
He hasn't thrown over 15 yards all
Get
season.
CJ back in the slot because Maddox is coming back. Everybody's at their natural positions. You better forget it, man.
Dude. So Ricky Batalico said it. We have all 22 healthy guys tomorrow.
The longest pass was the Debo.
Are you kidding me?
The longest pass that he had was the Debo
we have
for 72 yards, but it was a 10-yard out.
10-yard out that he ran.
Yeah.
So what happens is the Eagles have this formula, and we've all witnessed it this year. Once we go up on you 2 scores,
that's why that's why I'm saying
it's a long day for you.
If we jump on them even by 10,
and we're capable of doing it. That's what we do.
And understand something, and I get it. People are going to be like, yeah, but that's not going to matter. The weather's supposed to get ugly towards the second half. If you have a 2-score lead and now this kid's got to throw a wet ball on our defense, game over.
And here's the other thing. You mentioned them, but I want to go back to them. Your guy, your alumni. You guys are alumni.
Yep.
Reddick's mad. And what I like about him, he doesn't come out and say, I'm mad. He goes, okay.
This whole team's mad because they all got snubbed.
Right. And the thing is,
you just gave him more bulletin board material.
Yes, you did.
BG, Kelsey, Lane, and Fletcher all talk to those guys. And Trey, who's our linebacker? Wallace?
Kayvon.
You know what he said this week? He said, as long as we do what we're supposed to do, we'll be fine. And when the player says that, that means they those guys are so locked in right now. They've heard the outside media. They know what's going on. They know they're being disrespected. Dude, it's going to be a long day for the 49ers. I'm sorry. I think it's going to be close. I don't know. No, let me take that back. I think they're going to hang around, but it's not going to be as close.
See, here's the other thing. So people who are hyping up Joey Bosa, understand Joey Bosa is going to be working both sides. He's not going to stay on one side of the ball. So when he's going up against Mailata, he's going to look over at Mailata and go,
yeah, he's going to look up at Mailata.
He's going to go, okay, how are you doing today? He's like, I'm going to kill you. That's what's going to happen. That's exactly the way this is going to go down. And that's, one of the reasons why I have all the confidence in the world. The other is that I don't have faith in Brock Purdy like a lot of other people do. Look, it's the first time in history that 2 quarterbacks under 25 years old have faced off in a conference championship game. Okay. If he makes it to the Super Bowl, it'll be the first time a rookie ever starts in a Super Bowl game.
There was somebody on the 49ers yesterday that really pissed me off. And he said that, I don't think Jalen Hurts. I mean, I don't know if Jalen Hurts is that good and Jordan Mailata. I think he said never heard of Jordan Mailata. I was like, okay, dude. Well, guess what? You don't know who Jordan Mailata is? You're gonna learn today.
Well, just keep pissing them off.
Tom's gonna love this. So they put the jersey on the Rocky statue.
Yeah, I heard about that.
They did a sneak attack at night. And guess who the last team that did that was?
Minnesota Vikings.
And what happened to them?
No, I'll take it back. I heard the Giants put one over them too.
So
Don't mess with the karma.
Hang on. And then they took it one step further. And this is where I'm going to get Tommy fired up. They're now calling Brock Purdy Brocky.
Yeah, I heard that.
about that.
I heard that.
Because he's the underdog story.
Well, that's fine. Then we're just going to be Mr. T in the first fight.
I mean, listen, I'm be honest. Like I'm not in. I might watch my man
or like Drago and say I break you.
I usually watch my man Scott Van Pelt when I can, but I don't really pay attention to the national media, man, because I've come to learn that most of these guys are not watching. They're watching clips, and it's hot takes,
exactly.
And they're making comments. Listen, I know we all joke about I go off about Joe, but I think you guys. Not just me, but we're smart enough to know and be honest about our team, our players, right? We're not going to just say something about them for the sake of saying something good about them. Joe was right. Joe needed to step up. He did. Like we give our players critique when necessary. But for you to make these outlandish comments, Michael Wilburn, made a comment that. He compared Purdy like there's no big of a difference between Purdy and Hurts. And by the way, people, Purdy's only played 2 road games. Vegas, that went to overtime. That was an overtime game that they barely won. Okay, and I forget I think it was the Chargers. You might play.
Seattle and the
Seattle.
Seattle.
So you're coming into the link,
and
you're coming into South Philly, where you guys are from, where I went to school. Okay, that's a different animal.
And explain to me the top defense that he's faced and beat. Explain that to me. Because someone hasn't explained that yet to me.
So, there's all this talk about crowd noise and
Debo.
Yeah, Debo. I'm not even going to his comments. I'm just saying people said,
you
don't think that these guys
is. Well, guess what? You're going to learn.
These guys aren't used to crowd noise playing in a 100,000 plus seat college football stadium.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Listen to me very carefully. If you don't think there's a difference between 100,000 college kids and 70,000 raving lunatic Eagles fans, I got news for you. There's a drastic difference. These people would shove their grandparents down the stairs to get up in front to boo you and tell you about yourself.
Yeah, they would.
4 hours of hell. Yep. Yeah, Rob Thompson said it. He talked to one of his buddies that were managing on one of the other teams that came through in the playoffs. And the other guy said, he was like, "What did you think of the crowd?" And the guy said it was 4 hours of hell.
Yeah, that's real.
These people these people research. Our fans research. They will throw shit at you. Excuse my language. I don't want it to be a cursing show anymore, and I'm doing my best. But it's championship weekend. I'm getting a little fired up. They will Google stuff to find out about it and bring it up to you. I'm telling you right now. As that sun's going down across 95 on Lincoln Financial Field, it's just going to get nastier and nastier and nastier. You are going into the Lions' den, and you got a bunch of pissed off Lions because you snubbed every single one of them. Every one of them has a chip on their shoulder, and they are going to take it out on this 49ers team tomorrow.
Because what's happened, see, the thing is, and the Eagles players get it. They get validation from us. No, first of all, let me rephrase. They get validation from themselves first and foremost, as they should, and then from us as the fan base. But I think when you say snub, and I like the word that you're using, it's all of a sudden before Dallas got knocked out. Oh, the Cowboys. Oh, Dak Prescott had a great game against Tampa Bay. Well,
against a 45-year-old.
Yeah, who's done.
And a defense that's
done. And so you now you're talking, oh my God, the 49ers. Listen, good team. defense is good.
They deserve to be here.
But
They
I
deserve to be
don't
here. That is true.
fear their defense. There's a difference. I don't fear their defense, and the reason why I watch that defense. If Dak Prescott, I'm going to keep saying this, because he's Dak. They get a turnover. Cowboys get the turnover. They don't capitalize. Hurts is not throwing that pick. You know that, Joey. He's not throwing that pick. We're going into the end zone with this guy. So my point is that the Eagles players are looking at him like, whoa, we were 14-3, and my quarterback was 14-1, and if the idiot ref catches the call, Goddard doesn't get hurt, and we get the ball, and we probably beat the Commanders. But whatever, fine, that's in the past. But moving forward, they came out, and my friend Darren made a statement to me weeks ago. He said something. He said, man, you notice the Eagles really demolish teams? They don't just go out and beat them. I mean, they crush them, i.e. last week against the Giants, right? So people aren't seeing that, man.
It's like they take their heart.
Yeah, and it's like they and then you got a quarterback who's up 3 scores, and you think he's celebrating. He's sitting there like, I'm not done.
And once
motivation drives contempt.
You take someone's heart, they lose their fight.
Yeah.
So TK, Jalen Hurts, when we talk about this, is an assassin.
Yeah.
He's an assassin.
Silent assassin.
There you go.
I want to get this
silent assassin.
I want to get this right. I want everyone to hear this, because before last season, before the 2021-22 season, CBS Sports came out with their ranking for quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts was second to last.
Yep.
From starting quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Understand something. This is a guy who came from not one, but 2 big-time programs. And won and was successful. Not many quarterbacks are able to do that. Sometimes they go from like a Florida to like a Indiana.
Yeah.
So he went from an Alabama to an Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And so this is a guy that has a mentality, has an edge about himself since he was in college. The reason why it was easy, and I mean, this goes back to a question years ago that me and Freddie Burns had a debate about. Why draft a quarterback that high and create this quarterback back? Maybe because Howie saw what was going on in that in-house with Carson, and he already knew what he had as a backup Nick, but knew that he wasn't going to sign Nick back. Well, you have to figure out plan B.
Another Executive of the Year award for Howie Roseman.
Yeah.
I would love to have, like, when does your point just not make sense anymore? Twice. I know.
So,
and 2 of them are in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
So,
Bill Polian.
Let me go back to so you guys, because you guys follow college football a lot. What happened? He was at Oklahoma.
He got pulled in the championship game from Tua.
Right, I remember that. Tua took over. So then he decides to leave Oklahoma and go to Alabama.
No, he left Alabama.
He left Alabama to go to Oklahoma.
And then he took over for Kyler Murray.
At Oklahoma, when Kyler Murray graduated.
Yeah.
And then after that, he gets drafted by us.
Mm-hmm. And understand the reason why I felt like
I remember that game
at that time that he got drafted was because the Patriots had just lost Brady. They were
looking at him.
The
Patriots were looking at him.
The Patriots were looking at him.
They were.
Yes.
He thought he was going to go to Pittsburgh. He said.
Well, because Pittsburgh and the Patriots were both below us,
and they needed
a quarterback. So Howie was either not going to move on Jalen and have one of those 2 teams steal him, and then he would have been stuck with the Wentz problem.
Right.
and so understand where that would have put him. So he wanted to get a insurance policy.
So let's
and that's a hell of an insurance policy, by the way.
Let's go back to that. I would love. You probably want to hear this story to 20 years later when Howie's retired. I would love to hear what went into that. The reason why I asked that question, because I was shocked. I watched the draft like we all did. And I don't recall if we had we had Rager. Rager was the first round pick, wasn't he? That year. Okay. So we go ahead and we take Hurts because had a high second round pick, if I recall, right? I think we were second in the second round.
38 or 39.
And everyone was like thinking, "Oh my God, what the heck?" They did the old we called Carson. We let him. I remember that bit, right? We did the old we called Carson, and we all know how it played out. But I'm looking at this going, did they see something? Obviously, they saw his flaws at the time and knew that they could correct them. But I think more importantly, they knew that he was willing to correct them because of the type of person that he was. Whereas though Carson was becoming a diva.
Right. Well, you also have to deal with this. He knew that having, and Howie said this after he drafted Jalen. He said, having a backup quarterback in this league as talented as Jalen is an asset.
Yep.
And it's a privilege.
Carson split the locker room. Jalen Hurts galvanized.
Yes.
That was the word.
That is a good word.
While he was still a backup.
Yes. Yep. And you could tell the mentality change in that lineup, especially when he stepped in for Carson. And understand something.
Very interesting.
With Jalen, he didn't let all that drama that Carson still had when he was coming in for Carson
you're right,
affect him.
Yeah, absolutely, Wayne. That's a great point.
It didn't affect him.
Right.
And so he said, I'm going to know who I am, and I know what I can do. And I've been here before. I've been where a guy like Tua or Kyler is ahead of me, and I got to fight for my spot.
Right.
This is the difference. We talk about the dog mentality.
Yes.
Jalen, since the time he came into this building, had to fight for that spot. You think he's going to give it up now?
Well, you had two things working with him. One, people are questioning the pick. He's feeling that, right? He's feeling like, wow, people are questioning.
And they're questioning his skill set.
They're questioning his skill set. But you know, it's ironic, and this is weird, man. I'm listening to you guys. So there was a time we thought both Wentz and Ben Simmons was our future, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Both of them, right?
Yep.
They both turned out to have the same kind of weak mentality. Maxey gets drafted, right? Maxey gets drafted, plays that 1 year coming off the bench, and it's like Ben decides after that, I don't want to play for us after the infamous 9-dunk. Maxey moves in because he was forced to move into that position, takes over. The rest is history. Carson becomes a diva, whatever. Hurts comes in, remember because they bench Doug benches Carson and threw Hurts in the starting position.
Right.
And never looked back.
Right.
Yep.
And now they're both gone, and you have these two players, right? Both Maxey and Hurts, who we love.
What a difference a couple of years made.
I mean, that's mind-boggling.
You know,
sometimes you fall into the right people.
And they were afterthoughts to Big Joe's points when they came here.
You know what's mind-boggling? I don't mean to make this about myself, but I guess
Make it about yourself. It's championship weekend.
Because it's like it's actually changed the team around because the first show we had on EOP, you guys, Tommy and Joey and everybody was including Will, Rob, and all that, and for it, and the new normal rank came out.
Yep.
And then I started to go off on Howie and this and all that. The next day, Jalen Hurts was the quarterback that he replaced Carson Wentz. Yeah. He got benched on the same day when we started.
And James, once they put him in, he never looked back. Like he never lost sight.
Exactly. So Jalen Hurts has been questioned the entire career, the entire journey that he's taken.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do with questions is have answers.
Yes.
And he's answered every one of them.
Listen,
every question that's been asked of him, he has answered.
I'll ask this of you, Tom, because this makes it a little bit more identifiable to you. You started a new job about a year ago, and you want to keep your spot. So what are you going to do? You're going to work hard. You're going to get hungry to stay relevant at that job. You're going to continue to improve yourself. You're going to continue to work hard. That is a mentality that not everybody has. And my dad once told me, just because you have that ability, just because you have that hunger, doesn't mean that the next guy does.
You know, I get to your point. I get hated on often. I've gotten called a brown noser and this and that. I'm just out to do what I can for the team.
Right.
It happened to me at FedEx when I moved into management too. People would jump on me all the time, and I'm like, listen, I'm not going to settle. You might.
There's a reason,
but I'm not going to.
There's a reason
Nor
why.
should you. Nor should you.
There's a reason why with Dame. There's a reason why this fan base feels the way that we do about Jalen.
Right.
Because there's a lot more of Toms and me and everybody else.
Sure.
Yep.
Than there are people that don't want to fight for this.
Because we're raised in a blue collar town, right? We people, Big Joe just shared with us the tickets the money he put out for the tickets, right? But we understand, like, yo, he had to work for that, right?
Yeah,
we get that. So all we ask of you when people talk, I don't care. Listen, that's the business. These guys are going to make $40 million a year, whatever. I have no issue with that. That's the market rate. But I expect you to go out and work. Here's this funny thing. We joke about the AI practice thing, and I said to people, I said, listen, I don't care what he did in practice. I don't care what he did the night before. But come 7 o'clock, when that dude laced those things up, put in the work. Every single night.
That's what people miss.
And that's why we loved him. That's why we loved him. We didn't care about he was at the club.
I don't care how many Coronas you had at TGI Friday.
7 o'clock, laced up, balled out.
But that's what people missed about that quote. When me and James did a video edit for Allen Iverson, that's what people missed about that quote. He was basically saying that all people wanted to hear was, we're talking about practice.
Like I give you my heart every game.
Right.
Not the game.
I give you every single thing I have.
That's what he was saying.
Do we win? Do we get wins and losses in practice? No.
That's what he was saying.
Do we get championships in practice? No. So we're not talking. Why are we talking about practice? In the game, I give you every piece of me.
The guy single-handedly brought you 3 games from a championship.
Yes, he did. Yes,
and understand some Jalen and Maxey and some of these guys that are just workers.
Mm-hmm.
We can easily relate to those guys.
I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for work. I know for a fact.
Same here.
Jalen Hurts is getting up the same time I am.
Dude, they said Sirianni. He goes, I'm laying in bed, I can't sleep. I get up, I go to the office, to look at tape. Somebody beat him there. They said, that's why I go back, TK. When you listen to this guy's interview, I'm answering your questions, but I'm getting ready to shower. I'm going to look at this tape.
Yep.
No, I know he was in that office last Sunday or Saturday.
They had a day off one day, and Jalen and Jalen said
after the season.
Yeah.
But they had the bye week, and Sirianni gave everybody off, and Jalen went to him and was like, "Can we go in and watch tape tomorrow?" So it was like a couple of coaches, Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, were the only people in there watching tape.
Because
tell me that kid's not hungry.
The only people
he's starving.
The only people that were
starving.
The only people that were supposed to be there
been doing a lot of the
were
work.
the coaches. And Jalen's like, no, I want to go in and watch film.
I love it. I love it.
Okay? And what happens is now, so they said on the field, he's a coach. He goes back to Steichen and Sirianni goes, listen, man.
Here's what I'm saying.
That's keep running the ball, as they did last week. So, listen, I'm going to start, tippy-toeing around it. 49ers are good. They deserve to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you ain't winning them all.
Now, listen, before
we're
about to get into predictions so we can wrap it up here and everybody can go get their championship weekend started.
Yes, sir.
Bird's ultimate Arizona trip if the Eagles were to handle business tomorrow. February 10th through the 13th, Philly sports trips. Fully refundable $499 deposit. Head on over to phillysportstrips.com today and put your deposit down. It's fully refundable. Again, if you're over there, please tell Vince and the crew that the guys from Pattison Ave Phanatics and Edge of Philly Sports sent you. Now, predictions for the NFC Championship game at Lincoln Financial Field.
Pain.
Absolutely.
Pain. Hungry dogs run faster.
I will start this. I've watched this team all season, like many of you guys here. This very well might be the best Eagles team ever.
I concur.
I'm with you.
Ever.
I concur.
This San Francisco 49ers team, just like Damon said, has every right to be here. They fought hard. They've played well throughout the season. Unfortunately for them, they're running into a buzzsaw. Philadelphia Eagles 27, San Francisco 49ers 9.
Ooh. Damn, TK. 27-9. I'm writing everybody's scores down.
That's my mom and dad's anniversary.
Nice. 9/27?
9/27?
August 27th? Nice.
Sorry, Mom. Your 49ers are going down tomorrow. Love you.
Yeah, Joe's wife's.
Don't kick me out of the house. I got nowhere to go tomorrow.
Ever since I was a little kid.
No, respect to your wife and your mom. How did it happen?
Joe Montana.
Joe Montana's my favorite non-Eagle of all time.
Yeah.
So
I have a Joe Montana Notre Dame jersey.
I'm a Curry fan, but I'm not wearing Warriors. So I just can't do it.
Hang on. So, Joe, you're telling me, that another Joe got between you and her? I'm just saying.
All right, so I've given my prediction. Joseph Marks will run around the table to you.
For years, this city has dealt with anguish. For years, this city has dealt with questions when it came down to whether we could get it done and get to the finish line. I completely concur with TK and his sentiments about this team and what this team looks like and how this team is built. And, here's my feeling is that I would have thought this would have been a closer NFC championship game if the Dallas Cowboys won. That's why I picked the Dallas Cowboys. The San Francisco 49ers are lamb to slaughter. And it's cute because they come in with their little miner helmets. And they come in with the San Francisco Miner hard hats. Let me explain something to you. You're going to need them. Because
Fred Flintstone had a nice hard hat.
Because this game is going to knock you in the face. Because this is not going to be for the faint of heart. I'm going to sit here and tell you the same thing I said to the Giants. The only thing you're going to do is pick up your luggage and go home. Eagles 27, San Francisco 10.
So we were pretty much in lockstep, Joe.
Yeah.
James scores.
I don't know if I could go further than that promo, but I can try to do my best. This season all along has been the funnest season I've watched. Like you said, Tom, and my dad said it all along. Like the best team I've watched probably in my lifetime. I feel like this team has the urgency to put a can of whip ass on the 49ers tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I think if Jalen Hurts plays the same mentality like he did last week, along with the receivers and the starting offensive line and defense and so on and so forth, it's going to be it's going to be a slobber knock. 34-10 Birds. Let's get it.
I just wanted to add some. So just so people are aware, there's going to be some Eagles alumni at the game tomorrow.
Yes.
You're going to have Donovan, Brian Dawkins, Brian Westbrook, who also played for both the Niners.
Hugh Douglas should probably be there since he's back in the fold.
Hugh Trotter.
Nice.
And
of course, Ike Reese.
Yes. So there is going to be a lot of fervor.
You should have Nick Foles there.
Oh, yeah. I had heard something about that.
He's going to be there?
That there's a strong possibility he could be on the sidelines.
Oh,
let's go.
Shit.
Damon Salim.
Hungry dogs run faster. I've been saying it all week, man. I love that quote. Listen, 49ers, you guys came on strong. You had a 11-game winning streak, whatever the case may be. Defense is solid, O-line solid. You got a nice team. We're a better team. We're a better team from top to bottom, from our coaching staff to our players, on both sides of the field and our special teams. And we just have the best quarterback right now playing.
Mm-hmm.
He's laser focused. I love him. He's one of us. I expect look for a touchdown from Quez Watkins. Quez, they just told Quez to lay focused. Just be ready, Quez. Stay focused because you're going to take him off the top. You're going to come out early, get on the board early. We get 2 picks and a fumble. I call for that almost every game. 28-14 Birds.
And there you have it, sports fans. This is going to be a world-class beatdown from your Philadelphia Eagles. For everybody on the show, I'm Tom Kelly. This is the Pattison Ave Phanatics Show, and we are out of here.